Yes, day 80. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Walking the streets of Chicago, it quickly became apparent this was a city in a state of flux and in every way imaginable. From the sheer quantity of train lines coming into the city from all directions to the arrangements of the city blocks themselves, for the blocks I discovered were in motion. Walking the busy streets, I was forced to stop more than once to make way for a family home set on rollers, moving like a strange gigantic snail while its occupants calmly ate their dinner at the window as they went. A sign propped on the veranda read J.S. McIntyre House Movers. I was almost about to call it the Esquire Network. Don't ask. I've been watching American Ninja Warrior. A man on the sidewalk beside me cursed under his breath. They act like they own the road, he muttered. Are you suggesting this is a common occurrence? I demanded, staring away as the building took a left turn across busy traffic. It's the seventh one of these I've dodged today, the man grumbled. They're supposed to go to Van Buren and thereabouts, but instead they cruise around on those Hickory Springs like so many lords and ladies. Where I come from, houses stay where they are placed, I told them. 'Twas because the mayor wanted the city to be made of stone, so they fitted rollers under the wooden houses to move them out of the way. But you can't just move city folk around like cattle. They got the taste for it, see? People enjoy sunrise on the lake shore, then they go browsing the shops, then go out of the city for the night, all from their living rooms. I myself have traveled too much, I remarked, and would enjoy staying put. Well, maybe you could. You haven't seen what it's like out of the center. It's a swamp out there. Should have never built a city here at all, if you ask me, but no one did, of course. With that, he slumped away across the road. I returned to Monster of Fog at our hotel sometime later, but only to find that the city was not tired of toying with me yet. The establishment, which had been normally positioned when I left it, now required a ladder to enter, having been raised several feet into the air by a team of men with hefty jack screws. They were clearly operating outside the law. There was no foreman and no cordon to stop children and curious onlookers clambering under the elevated building. Quite clearly, these men had slipped their jacks under the foundations in order to extract a fee from the proprietor to lower it again. One poked me hard in the chest. "You just run into Chicago's most notorious work gang," he declared. "We run this town." $5, in or out. I gave the man £3, without much thought, leaving him a little puzzled as to how best to have the money changed, since the bank had recently disappeared down Main Street in the direction of the lake. As we lay down to sleep, Monsieur Frog murmured, "Today is day 81, Passepartout. We have failed." "We do not lose heart," I advised him. "Indeed not," he agreed. "We must still return home, and as fast as possible." Oh, the game's not over! They're really giving me the opportunity to get home. Alright, so I might have failed the battle, but the war isn't over yet. I'm getting there, one way or another. Alright. Deep breath, Joel. I'm not giving up. Alright, so we're in Chicago right now. Seems the trip to Atlanta might be the best thing we can do. Atlanta is connected to Miami by a rail. I'm wondering if Atlanta can also lead me to Washington. Well, of course it can. If the people on The Walking Dead can do it, I'm sure they can. Alright, so let's figure this out. Let's get this Canadian train timetable. Buy that. Buy that. Alright. I could afford it. You never know, those things might come in handy. Oh, I can go to Winnipeg and then make my way east towards New York. Since I'm not going to arrive in time back home, then I might as well take the most profitable paths possible. I mean, it's only logical, but nothing I can do today, so... The most I can do is stay in the hotel and wait it out till tomorrow. It was with a heavy heart that I watched the sun go down. 80 days had come and gone, and here we were, still marking time and not yet home. As night fell, I attended to Monsieur Fogg, ensuring he was comfortable with the hopes he would have a comfortable night. All I can do. All I can do. It's sad. It's really sad. Alright, that leaves at 1 p.m. Oh, I can go there tomorrow for no charge. Alright. No extra charge. I'll still have to pay £160, but... that'll work. Tomorrow at 8 a.m. Did not mean to press that button. Come on. Hotel. Sorry. I feel bad for my master, for sure. Another nail in the coffin. It's reminding me that I failed. It's a learning experience. Bearable experience. It's not even going to lower his health. Awesome. We're taking the Western and Atlantic Railroad. My master paced the floor of the Chicago Station ticket hall in a state I could only describe as irritation, as we attempted to work out what train we were supposed to be getting onto. They have, he remarked to me with somewhat less than his usual cool, made something of a conundrum of their train system. What is the problem, Monsieur? I asked, somewhat amused by his annoyance. The station has a rather remarkable number of platforms, he replied, and very little instruction for the casual traveler as to which their train might be departing from. While he cogitated, I stopped a passing porter and inquired if he could aid us. Of course I can, sir, the man replied cheerfully. Platform 12 for Atlanta, but you'd better hurry. I thanked him and then dragged my master away from the timetable board where we caught the train with mere seconds to spare. Ooh. Thank goodness. Ah, thank you! Just told me what I needed to hear. Atlanta's linked to New York aboard the Piedmont airline, so now we're going to go via air travel. What can you tell me about New York then? So Washington. Quickest way to New York would be through Washington. You can travel aboard the Paul Revere from Washington to Ponta Delgada. Oh, I needed to get there, so Washington is my next trip. So go from Atlanta to Washington. Ponta Delgada. That's our plan. Day 83. Definitely a little bit disappointed. But you know what? We're going to continue onward. We headed away from Chicago and into the wild wilderness of America. Endless meadows stretched away in all directions, broken only by dense patches of forest. Once I saw a lumbering shadow, almost certainly a bear, and I gripped my seat with white knuckles until we were several miles further along. I have, as I may have mentioned, a particular fear of bears. No, you did not, Passepartout. Good to know. Around the middle of the day, we passed a well-tilled area set with triangular cloth houses. I looked with some interest, seeing a few people moving about their village. A child waved at the train as it passed, but their mother quickly snatched her hand down. Then, in a flash, they were gone, erased by the movement of the train. Gotta keep my master comfortable. And now we're in Atlanta. Hallelujah. See what we can figure it out. Atlanta, at the heart of Georgia, is a busy city with construction on every corner. The Civil War had plainly left its mark. With bullet-holed bricks commonplace, it had been from here that Major General William Tecumseh Sherman has... Excuse me, I drank a whole bottle of soda before this, during the transition from videos, had begun his march through enemy territory to the port of Savannah, burning and wrecking whatever stood in his way. No doubt the rebuilding would take many years yet, both inside people's hearts and out. Certainly the passerbys I saw seemed to flit around with heads stopped, uncertain with their status as a developing city. "We may not be much to look at today, mister," declared Stanley Goodman, owner of Goodman's and Goodman's, a curious hardware store, bakery, and bookshop, into which I stopped to buy something for lunch. But in a few years' time will be state capital, and after that, who knows? And to what do you attribute Atlanta's great success? I won't lie to you, mister. Being burned to the ground helps to put things in perspective. From here, we're building up and together. I was impressed with the ambition on display, since the town seemed to be more a crossroads of the railways than a city in its own right. And what place did railroads have in humanity's future above the clouds? Alright, what can we get? What can we get? We're heading to New York's, and that's valuable in New York, so grab that. And get the shaving kit. Why not? Alright, our next trip will be to Washington. No charge. Tomorrow at 8. Alright, we took a room and settled in, and I ran a few errands for the hotelier, earning £68, as well as overhearing from him that you could get to New York from Washington aboard the Piedmont airline. Most intriguing. Intriguing indeed. One can... Oh, wait, I have time. One can travel aboard the Paul Revere to Ponta Delgada. You can get to New York aboard the Piedmont airline. So we definitely have options available. And my master's health will be in good shape. So we're making the Walking Dead trip. That's where I'm getting my nostalgia. We boarded a fast new train called the Piedmont Airline for the trip to Washington. The countryside rolled past like an England built on a massive scale. Where trees grew, they formed forests, and where fields stretched, they seemed to carpet the whole world. America was clearly big. One could perhaps spend 80 days simply traveling its length and breadth and admiring the view. Sorry, I did most of that just scouring the Atlantic. No, the Pacific, excuse me. Got my oceans mixed up. Greeting, Monsieur de God. Alright. I want to ask about New York. And then, what about New York to Punta Delgada? Shit. Then we'll have to make our way back from New York to Washington. At this point, we have nothing to lose, so... Handhelds, mirrors, and Caracas you can sell for a profit in Marrakesh. Use the dominoes. Continue to open as many paths as we can. The loss of the slave trade has hit Senegal hard. Pay fantastic amounts for skyscraper blueprints for Miami. Miami is way too out of out of the way. Never mind that. There's neither bank nor market in Belim. Well, we got a decent amount of info, I guess. Got into Washington pretty fast. That's going to cost a pretty penny. Let's go to New York. There's some things I want to sell at New York anyway. People were somewhat wary of Monsieur Fogg as we roamed the streets of Washington. Several buildings had not yet been rebuilt since the burning of the city by English forces in 1812. I could understand it, remembering the terrible feeling of being under attack from my own time and during the siege of Paris. Still, not everyone was cold. A few people were out to make a quick butt. Quick butt? What? Where's my mind in? A gutter, apparently. One of the New York gutters. Thinking about making a quick butt. As is right and proper. Do you want the full tour, gentlemen? Asked Hank Hinberry, a man with smooth dark skin and a fine weather jacket who strolled up to us. As though the sight of an English gentleman and his battered valet were par to his normal fare. Yeah, we're not staying. You're leaving? He smiled. You haven't seen what this place has to offer. What does this place have to offer? Everything, he replied, spreading his hands wide. Hank leant in closer. Tell me now, he purred. What's your poison? Cognac. He looked a bit puzzled. Well, now, I don't know what that is, he said, but we here make bourbon, and it's the best drink known to mankind. I looked at my master, who seemed indifferent. We followed him. He led us down a side alley and through a low, unmarked doorway. My master looked skeptical, but I can only say I had a good feeling about our Monsieur Hank Hinberry that led me to trust him, a feeling that was soon to be validated. Hank stepped inside, then turned. If you wouldn't mind removing your hats, gentlemen. That should have warned me what was coming, but it did not. We doffed them as requested, and Hank smiled and led us inside. The room was not as dark as I had expected for a drinking den. A group of people sat in a circle, with their heads down. No music, no bars, no cards. Welcome, gentlemen. Take a seat, Hank suggested, gesturing at a chair. We are here to drown your sorrows in the drink of faith. Oh, shit. Maybe I shouldn't have been so trustworthy. I should have just ran while I still could. One of the unbehatted number looked up and smiled and gestured to Monsieur Fogg, patting the seat next to her. What could he do? His gallantry forbade him to decline the invitation. Hank led me to another chair. We were praying, Monsieur. Won't you join us? Kinda gotta just roll with it. I got a really weird vibe from these people. Monsieur Fogg was already accepting a Bible from the lady next to him. Our particular mode of worship is to sing our hearts out to the Lord. If you don't know the words, that's no problem. You'll feel them from your hearts enough, I'm sure. You can, I expect, imagine the reaction this news elicited from Monsieur Fogg. He gave no outward sign, of course. He was stoic in the face of congregational singing, as he was in the face of an exploding airship. But I, who knew him well, could see a note of true fear entering his eyes. To be devout is one thing, but to sing? But there was no way out. We had been trapped most effectively. Monsieur Fogg began with a mumble, but the lady to his right patted his hand and told him not to be shy. As ever, he could not say no. He opened his mouth. Anything, if one can call it that. His mouth opened wide, his eyes closed, and there issued a noise like a foghorn splitting a heavy sea mist, low, booming, and thoroughly toneless. Spectacles shivered on noses. It was a truly revelatory experience. After the service was done, there was tea and pie, which I found somewhat restorative, and finally we were allowed to leave. Remember what you have witnessed here today, Hank called to us as we bid him farewell. Oh, believe me, we shall. I do not feel quite well, Basabadoo, he declared. Not at all. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh. So worth going over 80 days.